welcome to Stitch Waltz. My name is Rachel. This is the first in a series of videos where I'm talking you through and walking you through and showing you how to make the projects in the book Magical Embroidery, which will be available in spring in 2026. So I'm in the process of writing all the patterns at the moment, the first of which is Toad, and she's been absolutely lovely to make. She is synonymous with abundance and transformation. She looks a little bit complex, but the stitches are really easy. She's got these lovely gold felt coins and sequins and all things sparkly to give her a look of opulence. So we shall be stitching our intent, our magical intent, into these objects as we go. So this is the whole point. It's an age-old idea of stitching your witchcraft into your work to bring about the manifestation of whatever it is that you need. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this first video, and I'll see you at the end. Right, so I've gathered all my stuff together that I need. I've got my sequins in the colours that I want, so I'm going to be doing purples and turquoises and gold. I've got my threads in the colours. And some more here. I've got some beads, a selection of beads, my pins, my needles, and some decent scissors. So this is the felt that I'm using. These are the colours I've chosen. So I want the purple for the top and the turquoisey teal colour for the bottom, with some nice gold bits for that kind of feel of luxury. All the shapes cut out of the printed version of the pattern. It's on the sulky, the Maker's Sulky, and it's a stick and stitch. It's not easy to easy to say. I'm getting it wrong a lot. It's sulky, stick and stitch, and you print it out. I've done two because I need to cut out the bottom of the toad as well, but this won't have all this embroidery, only this version will. So this one will have the pocket and the abundance writing, which will also be embroidered. And I've got the little coin pieces on my gold. So now I just need to cut it all out properly with some smaller scissors, because it is quite intricate. So here's the girl all cut out. So this will be the bottom part, so this will stay pretty much like that. So I'll take this off. When you're cutting around, just neaten that up. Take your time because the feet are quite tricky, but it's going to all be worth it. So I don't need to do the embroidery on this one, so I'm going to very carefully remove this. Now all the other pieces, the small pieces, I'm putting in a pot, because I know that otherwise they will just disappear. So I'll just keep this nice and safe in here. So this pocket will go on here. I mean, you can do a different colour for your pocket if you want to, but I'm just decided to keep mine the same. But I'll put that on a bit later. So now I need to start the embroidery. Sorry, I meant to say before we start the embroidery, just align your two pieces together to make sure that you've got the right sides up. So what I'm going to do, because the pieces aren't symmetrical completely, I'm going to mark this with the pin, so that I know that the bit with the head is the side that I need to put the embroidery on, because I don't want to end up putting the pocket on the wrong side and then having to take it off again, which believe me, I've done many a time on different projects. So yeah, just be careful, make sure you've got that right. And then, so I know that when I come to do this piece, that's the bit I need to sew on. Okay, so I've made a start on the embroidery part of the toad. I've done half, and I've left the other half because I wanted to show you the stitches. So for the fern-like sections, I'm using a darker green. See, it's against this purple. I'm using a darker green with a lighter green leaf, and I'm using a back stitch for the stem and a chain stitch for the leaf. Back stitch is very easy. Taking it a stitch away from your previous stitch, you're going back in the hole of your previous stitch, making your new stitch, coming up again, another stitch distance away, coming back down again through your previous stitch. So you can do it a little bit quicker, you can do it this way. So you're taking your needle in and then out a bit further apart, your stitch distance apart, and then back in again. So that's the back stitch. It is exactly as it sounds. Just wanted to give you a close-up view of Toad. Here she is. This is her finery. This obviously these are gold. This is going to be all dissolved. This stick and stitch will be dissolved in water. So this is the back stitch that I've been showing you. This is I'm using 3 strands of the thread for this, for all of it, rather except the beads, where I'm just using 1 strand because it's easier to get through the bead. So I'm using a fairly big needle for the embroidery and a much tinier needle to be able to get through the beads and the sequins. While I'm stitching, I am keeping in mind the intent of this toad, which is for abundance. My personal thing is I wanted more sales on my Etsy shop and my books to sell, and actually while I've been working on this, I've had sales coming in while I've been working and thinking about life being abundant, being more abundant, material wealth, and you know, whatever wealth is for you, whether it's spiritual wealth, material wealth, whatever you need at this present time. So keep it in mind what it is you want. So while you're stitching, keep your intent, keep your witchcraft in mind and your own personal magic, and weave it into your toad. And then whenever you need her, you can just get her out, and there she is. And also while you're working on her, your intent is going into the universe, and it's manifesting, it's becoming real. The more you think about it, the more you imagine it, the more you're living it, the more real it's becoming. For the leaves, I'm using this lighter green, and I want it to really show up against the purple background. So we're going to be doing a chain stitch for these. So you're starting off at the stem, so you're coming up, and then you're going back in again, very close to it, and then you're bringing the needle up at the end of the leaf, and then the thread goes around the needle, and that begins a little stitch then that you make, a little tiny stitch which holds the whole leaf shape in place. That's quite awkward, holding it up in front of the camera and doing it and showing you. I hope you're getting the gist of it. Okay, so again, passing the needle up through, and then this thread is holding that in place. Now in the Magical Embroidery book, I have purposely not given you a colour selection or a colour palette to use, because I think it's a very personal thing. So choose whatever colours appeal to you for your abundance. By all means, use mine if you want to. That's fine. Right. Now for the beads, I'm going to need a smaller needle. I want to keep the same colour thread, so it always looks a mess on the back of the thing. When you go to finish off your little section of stitching, just knot it sew over in a little knot. You can always trim these off a bit more later. I didn't want to put you through the sufferance of watching me thread a needle. Yes, that is a painful sight sometimes. I've got a very tiny needle with a very, very tiny hole and just one thread of this. I just find that's easier. And I'm using these lovely clear beads just to make a little cluster in the middle of the star. The star's just a running stitch, it's very easy. All the way around. And I am stitching these on with a couple. You could do a double thread here if you wanted to. I quite like using just a single thread because you can gauge how easily it's going to go through. Sometimes the holes are so small in these beads that you can't actually get the needle through. They don't seem to be a uniform size. So it's a little bit fiddly. Oh, yeah, as if to prove my point. There we go. See, it's not going over. So any that are like that, you do get a few, just discard it. Let's try another one. This is almost as painful as watching me thread a needle, isn't it? Right, that one's okay. But this is why I only use a single thread, because you're never sure of the size. So I just do as many through the bead as I can. I've gone a little bit wide on there, but that's okay. So I'm going to do the same here. I've got 5, so I've got 2, so I've got 3 more to go. So I'm using the lilac thread again to stitch on these, the little pieces of the contrasting colour, the round bits that you will have very carefully cut out. This has still got the stick and stitch stuff on, so it's not looking quite as turquoise as it should be. I'm actually going to put a little stitch in this first before I'm finding the stacked sections of the pattern. It's easier just to put a little stitch in the felt for the first bit and then add the sequin. And then the bead, I'm just going for a clear bead. So I just want this to be more gold with the turquoise. And then you just go straight through the centre. And then you stitch that in a couple of times. Now these toe stitches are optional. It kind of depends how big your whip stitch is going to be around the edge when you come to assemble your piece together. In the final pattern in the book, the one that you will have, there won't be these bead markings on there either, because I thought that might be a little bit cluttered when you're trying to stitch round. So they can be added afterwards if you want to onto the toad, but that's entirely up to you. So you're doing just a little running stitch around, and to join them, so you haven't got to keep breaking your cotton, I'm just going at the back here, just slightly under the felt, just to take me to another toe, so I haven't got to keep knotting and rethreading. So I've done that all the way around. I've just done a little stitch at the back. It's not very clear to show you because it's yeah, it looks a bit of a muddle there, but it does the job. So as long as the front's looking fine, I'm sure lots of you have lovely neat back sections as well, but yeah, mine tend to be a little bit like a road map of London. So I'm just finishing that off. So again, secure it with a knot. My sharp scissors. The years I spent with blunt scissors, it's never worth it. Just invest in some decent scissors, makes all the difference. Just wanted to give you a close-up view of the seed bead cluster and the stacked sections of the felt, the sequin and the bead. I've added a star here rather than a bead because I just wanted to. So, you know, it's when you come to do this, it's your toad. You can add charms, whatever you like. The pattern is just a guide. So it's a good thing just to make it personal. I'm going to be doing this bit. I think I'd like to have a gold thread around these bits here. I like doing these curly bits. I've added here the gold, the metallic thread, which I'm quite pleased with. I'm hoping once this stick and stitch is dissolved, it's going to look really nice against the purple of the toad. So in the centre, I've got the piece that's going in there, which is also gold felt. I'm going to be using a dark green, where is it? Dark green thread. So I'm just going to be sewing from the centre to nearly the edge, and just a running stitch in a wheel stitch around the edge, and then adding a bead in the middle. Oh, it's getting tangled up. There we go. So I'm just sewing the golden disc, coin representation, together so that it attaches to the body of the toad as I'm decorating it. Be careful of the thread getting caught on things. As the more you go into the embroidery, The more things get attached, the more obstacles there are to your thread. There's feet, beads, sequins, you name it. But I am finding this very, very calming, very therapeutic. Just taking my time, nice and slow. Embroidery is not to be hurried, especially when it's for magical intent, when you're manifesting with it. So keep mindful of your stitches and your intent. And just enjoy it, enjoy the process. I've decided I wanted a lovely big bead in the centre here rather than a sequin, but you can add what you like to yours. I'm going to work on the eye now. I've done one. I've had to move this one slightly in. On the pattern that you will have, the eye will be is moved inwards. Initially when I did the pattern, I moved it too far to the edge, and again we've got the whip stitch going around the edge to put it together. So yes, I've moved the actual eye on the pattern inwards. So I'm going to show you with this one. It's like a satin stitch, only we're using different shades of green. So I'm starting with the darker green, going inside where the pupil will be, so the iris is going to be 2 or 3 different shades of green. Or whatever colour you decide you want your toad's eye to be. So I'm going using the pattern to guide me in my stitches. So I'm just going around alternating, so leaving gaps, going around making a circle, and then between those will be other shades of green. So I'm just going to go around and then show you. Then I'm going around with a kind of mid-green colour. So I'm just going from the iris, three strands of thread here on my needle. I'm starting with the long stretch of the iris, because the toad's iris is pointed like a lizard's. It's a kind of an oval shape, elliptical, I guess. So I'm doing the length of it right across the eye. I put that big bead in and I'm just getting everything caught on it. But it'll all be worth it. So I've got the thread going right across the eyeball, and then I'm going to put a slightly shorter one in either side, which is going to give me the appearance of a kind of cat-like pupil. Be careful not to pull the thread too tightly. It's quite nice to have a slightly embossed effect. So I'm just going nearly to the edge of the pupil. Not sure what's going on there. Or something caught up. That's okay, that's fine. And then I'm going to use a very light green, or you can use white if you like, whatever you like. I'm just going with the light green because it's going to match up with these leaves. Just putting in some little flecks of light on the pupil and adding some highlights in the iris itself. Just some little tiny flecks of light. And don't pull the floss too short, too tight, because the stitch will just disappear. So I'm going over this twice. I'm going to add some lighter sections. And this is what gives life to the eye. Play of light on the lighter green. There we go, I think that'll do. So here's your close-up view of the eye with the 3 different types of green and the black. There's still some beading to do on here. And here is the completed top section of the toad. All the stitching, all the beading, all the sequins, the eyes, everything's done. So now I shall embark on the belly. I've just had a bit of a lunch break and a nice cup of tea, and now I've started working on the lettering. This is something that really can't be hurried. You have to take your time. I'm just using a back stitch, very tiny stitches. I'm going to kind of work upside down here to show you. So I'm using small stitches, and especially on sections where the letter has a curve, keeping to the lines as strictly as I can. I do like to have kind of more free will with things. Patterns are wonderful, really helpful, but they should always just be a guide to your own creativity. But when it comes to lettering, I do like to stick to the pattern a little bit, because you can go horribly wrong with letters. So just a little bit more concentration than I would normally give anything, really. Okay, so there we go. That gives you an idea. So I'm just using a whip stitch now to attach the lettering to the pocket, which will then go on the front of the toad. So it's pretty simple. You're just sewing over the edges, just using small stitches, quite widely spaced. And I'm keeping it close to the lettering piece as I'm going back down again. Here's the pocket all sewn on with the coin attached, the sequin and the bead, just as we've done on the front section of the toad. Leave a gap at the top for your written petition, for your intention, for your abundance, transformation of your life, your wealth. So she's all sewn together with the whip stitch at the sides. I've left a gap to stuff her. I need to soak her now under the tap under warm water to get rid of all this stick and stitch, and then she will be revealed like magic in all her glory. Here she is, nice and clean. You have to kind of rub. Don't get the water too hot because you don't want the felt to shrink too much. There's going to be a little bit of shrinkage, which is why I've soaked her after I've sewn her together, because you don't want them shrinking at different rates. You don't want one piece bigger than the other. Don't wring it out, it's very soaking wet. Don't don't bring it out like you would a cloth, because it'll go all crinkly and damaged. So just pat it under a tea towel or a towel until she's dry, and then dry her out somewhere nice and warm. So she's been drying for quite a few hours now above a heater on my clothes area, and she's lovely and dry now, and really happy with the way the coins, the felt coins, shine, and the sequins catch the light. I think she looks quite opulent, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with her. So need to fill her now. I'm going to use these buckwheat husks. I wanted something organic to fill my projects with if they need filling. I'm not going to overfill her, just enough to make her sittable if possible. Got a little gap here, and then I shall sew over it like I've done the rest. So I'm literally just tipping from the jug, which is really handy, this little jug, tipping into this and then pushing it down a little bit into the legs and the arms, making a little bit of a mess on the desk, but it's not too bad, it does work. And here she is, all done. So thank you so much from me and Toad for sticking around. She's already bought me some abundance, so that's great. So she's doing her job, and who I do need some abundance. I think we probably all do in this day and age. With the current state of the world, we could all do with a bit of a boost. Next week we're making, I'm making a doll, an altar doll, a cloth altar doll with a lovely embroidered face, and she will have subsequent videos making her some clothes for the different festivals so that you can decorate your altar with her. So that should be a really fun project to do. So I hope you stick around for that. Please like and subscribe. I've got lots of stuff coming up, not just from the book. There'll be patterns available in Etsy, and I'll have a few patterns that will be free on my website also. So yeah, please stick with us, and hopefully see you next time. Bye for now.